Sir, Professor Pradip Basu, with my heartiest regards and my blessings and best wishes to young audience, young participants today who are primarily students and research scholars. With an apologetic note and with a heavy heart, let me start this conversation today. However, believe me, my intention was not to put you in problems. Accidentally, it happened, and roughly 20 minutes lost in this technical aspect, which I'm little bit ignorant, and I could not be connected with you. However, my
Okay, okay,
spirit
no problem, no problem.
my spirit, enthusiasm, and confidence to have some sort of academic engagement with Professor Basu is always there in my heart. And I'm extremely happy. I cannot express in words because my feelings cannot be expressed in words the way Professor Basu encouraged me, invited me, blessed me to be part of his academic circle by starting these innings today. To begin with, I've requested Professor Basu to allow me to have a discussion on the topic social movements in contemporary Odisha, particularly last 30 years, roughly when globalization process and technological advancement began to transform society and society lives.
নেটওয়ার্ক চলে গেল মনে হচ্ছে।
নমস্কার,
Natural
শুভ
resources,
সন্ধ্যা।
that is
রাষ্ট্রবিজ্ঞান চর্চা কেন্দ্রের আজকের
jungle.
আলোচনায় সবাইকে স্বাগত। আজকে প্রযুক্তিগত ত্রুটির কারণে আমাদের এই অনুষ্ঠানটি, এই সাক্ষাৎকার পর্বটি শুরু হতে বিলম্বিত হয়েছে, তার জন্য আমরা ক্ষমা প্রার্থী। আজকের আমাদের আলোচনার বিষয় হচ্ছে সোশ্যাল মুভমেন্টস ইন ওড়িশা ইন রিসেন্ট টাইমস। আজকের বিশেষ সাক্ষাৎকার পর্বে যিনি সাক্ষাৎকার গ্রহণ করবেন তিনি হচ্ছেন আমাদের চিরপরিচিত ডক্টর প্রদীপ বাসু, রিটায়ার্ড প্রফেসর, ডিপার্টমেন্ট অফ পলিটিক্যাল সায়েন্স, এক্স ডিন অফ আর্টস, প্রেসিডেন্সি ইউনিভার্সিটি। যার সাক্ষাৎকার নেওয়া হবে তিনি হচ্ছেন ডক্টর প্রদীপ পরিডা, অ্যাসোসিয়েট প্রফেসর, ডিপার্টমেন্ট অফ পাবলিক অ্যাডমিনিস্ট্রেশন অ্যান্ড পলিসি, এফএসএস, বেনারস হিন্দু ইউনিভার্সিটি। আমি ডক্টর পরিডার সংক্ষিপ্ত একটি পরিচিতি তুলে ধরছি। তিনি রাষ্ট্রবিজ্ঞান এবং জনপ্রশাসন বিষয়ে মাস্টার ডিগ্রি কমপ্লিট করেছেন জওহরলাল নেহরু ইউনিভার্সিটিতে। তার সাথে সাথে তিনি এমফিল এবং পিএইচডিও কমপ্লিট করেছেন জওহরলাল নেহরু ইউনিভার্সিটিতে। তার আলোচনার জায়গা বা তার যে আগ্রহের জায়গা রয়েছে সেগুলির মধ্যে পাবলিক পলিসি অ্যান্ড গভর্নেন্স উল্লেখযোগ্য। তিনি বিভিন্ন জাতীয় এবং আন্তর্জাতিক পত্রিকায়, গবেষণা পত্রিকায় তার নিয়মিত লেখালেখি প্রকাশিত হয়ে থাকে। এছাড়াও তিনি দেশ এবং বিদেশের বিভিন্ন বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে অতিথি অধ্যাপক হিসেবে তিনি তার দক্ষতার সাথে অধ্যাপনা কাজ সম্পন্ন করেছেন। আমি আর বেশ বিলম্বিত না করে আমি প্রফেসর প্রদীপ বাসু মহাশয়কে অনুরোধ জানাচ্ছি আজকের সাক্ষাৎকার পর্ব শুরু করার জন্য। ধন্যবাদ।
নমস্কার।
Namaskar, sir.
First of all, I will thank রাষ্ট্রবিজ্ঞান চর্চা কেন্দ্র, which is a quite big organization of the students and teachers of whole West Bengal, and they are arranging for different seminars and interviews for a long time, and I have been invited to take interviews of different scholars working in different areas. I feel very much honored that Professor Pradip Parida, a very renowned scholar, a brilliant author, he has agreed to join today, and today's topic is social movements in Odisha in recent times. তো আমি প্রথমে অধ্যাপক প্রদীপ পারিদাকে, আজকে আমাদের প্রযুক্তিগত কারণে ফর টেকনিক্যাল রিজনস উই আর ডিলেড, আমাদের কিছুটা বিলম্ব হয়েছে, তা আমি আর সময় নষ্ট না করে শুরু করছি। প্রফেসর পরিদা, ক্যান ইউ প্লিজ tell us something about displacement and rehabilitation issues in Odisha? We have come to know about this problem since long. অনেক দিন ধরেই আমরা শুনছি উড়িষ্যাতে এই ডিসপ্লেসমেন্ট অর্থাৎ এই প্রতিস্থাপন এবং রিহ্যাবিলিটেশন এবং তাদের পুনরায় স্থাপন করার জন্যে, পুনরায় তাদের প্রতিষ্ঠিত করার জন্যে সেই সব মানুষগুলিকে যারা ডিসপ্লেসড হয়েছেন, যারা সরে যেতে বাধ্য হয়েছেন, এই এই বিষয়গুলো নিয়ে অনেক সমস্যা হয়েছে উড়িষ্যায়। এই বিষয়টা ঠিক এক্সাক্ট প্রকৃতি, হোয়াট ইজ দ্য এক্সাক্ট নেচার অফ দিস প্রবলেম অফ ডিসপ্লেসমেন্ট অ্যান্ড হোয়াট ইজ দ্য রিলেটেড rehabilitation issue? Kindly tell us something. That is my first question.
Thank you so much, sir. The problem with Odisha's journey with development is it has been witnessing displacement since independence. To begin with, the mega project Sambalpur Hirakud Dam 1946-47 till date, Kalinganagar anti-Poska movement, Niyamagiri, Kasipur, Koraput and Kalahandi border, where the tribal people, native people are fighting against Vedanta for their plant and mining. Throughout Odisha, all the coastal belt, when Tata wanted to have establishing fisheries industry, prawn culture, from coastal belt to the tribal belt, all over the state, the presence of many companies, primarily private companies, has led to displacement, mega project, so-called industrialization, mining, cutting down of forest, eviction of the tribal people in particular, or the farmers, that has led to
প্রফেসর পরিদা, উই ক্যানট হিয়ার ইউ, আমরা শুনতে পাচ্ছি না।
demanding for justice in terms of distributive justice. I'm talking about people in Odisha, more particularly tribals, Dalits, women, marginalized sections, farmers, fishermen. All these people are actively participating in the social movements. Be it Baliapal, when that ballistic range missile that was taking place, when land was acquired from the people. Be it anti-Poska movement, Jagat Singhpur. Be it anti-Vedanta movement, Kasipur or Lanjigar, Kalahandi. Be it the people's movement to demand displacements, rehabilitation from Hirakud 1946-47 till date, the movement is continuing. The people who have been displaced and not been settled properly, their income generation activity has not been taken care of by the government. As a matter of fact, in terms of compensation, some amount of land and money was given, which is meager amount. The families has been displaced, uprooted from the native place. They've lost their livelihood, their cultural aspect, social aspect, family aspect. Many things are being destroyed just because they're displaced from that particular place where they have been living for centuries, generation, one after another, for hundreds of years. Today, they're man of no land. In all the districts of Odisha, if we really calculate, go into the field, you'll find more or less each and every district. Like I'm from Koraput, and I believe some people in this audience today who have traveled to Odisha must have heard about a place called Koraput and Kalahandi, which is drought and poverty stricken. But if you look into all the hydro projects, big hydro projects of Odisha, except Hirakud, they are in Koraput and Kalahandi, sir. Be it Indravati, be it Dam, be it Machkund, be it Kolab, be it for the displacement of HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited at Koraput, or Nalco, many places, villages were evacuated, and the people were displaced. And today they are just roaming on the road for the settlement. It has been minimum more than 40 years plus, but no proper compensation has been given to them, which is given on pen and paper only. In other words, I'm what does it mean?
Sir,
What do you mean by public purpose? The government has asked to the state, Supreme Court has asked to the state government. If the land which is being acquired is being utilized for school, college, hospital, university, one can understand. But if the land is acquired by the government and given to a private party, a meager amount of money through obnoxious, correlationship between the contractor, mafia, politicians, bureaucrat, what is happening at the end of the day? Odisha is already, if you click any newspaper or have a look at the TV channels, mining scams, then that, I mean, money scam, that is that small savings money like Artha Tattva in Bengal, lot of scams has affected the Odisha's political economy, sir. But the point I'm trying to raise here is about the issues with marginalized sections, particularly farmers, tribal people, fisher folk. They are being targeted by the state in the context of the fact of mega projects actually. And the mega projects, which is not going to give benefit to these poor people at the end of the day. It's giving revenue generation resources or one sort of revenue generation for the private sectors or for the state government, you might say, or central government if the industries by the central government or the state government. But what about those poor people who are already in the receiving a further being marginalized? And if you look into the history of Odisha, its journey in the context of modern development, roughly last 30 years is very, very significant. The reason being, after 90 onwards, the rapid industrialization process led to accelerating pace of marginalization. And if you look into the income of the top roughly 20% of the people of Odisha, basically concentrating in towns like Cuttack, Bhubaneswar, or industrial township versus the last 20%, or the people who are at the bottom line of that state, there are huge differences. In other words, the gap between the rich and the poor is further increased in last roughly and when they acquire the land, then what is happening with that? Are the poor people who are losing their land are getting some jobs or adequate compensation? What are the alternative sources of livelihood that is just hanging in the air till now? These are the questions being raised by intelligentsia, academician, grassroots activists, poor tribal people, poor pigeon persons, whether the state is giving some chance to them. The answer is, as a student of social science and public policy, when I deeply look into it, it will find the so-called armed revolution against the state, or people might say Naxalite movement, or the radical movement, is also covering in some part, red corridor I'm talking about, some part of the state, that is primarily tribal belts, sir. Kalahandi, Koraput, partly Sundargarh, Malkangiri, which is close to Andhra Pradesh, touching Chhattisgarh, Bastar. But remember, this is the zone of the state which is being totally affected by mega projects. All the big hydroelectric projects, all the big industries, mining is being primarily in these locations. And those are the areas where people are against the state because that has further marginalized them. Further, I mean, the gap between the state and the people is increasing day by day. That led to a lot of disenchantment of the people against the state, so on and so forth. They don't hesitate to go for an armed revolution if it is required against the state, because at the end of the day, their existence, their sustenance, they're living, I mean, as a citizen of the state, they're deprived of their legitimate entitlement. That's a Herculean task in front of all of us to address, ponder over these issues and address these issues from all the angles, from the academics angle, from the public policy angle. My friends who are from media, they must highlight this also. I mean, the domain of public policy, particularly related to political economy of the state, is being captured by sections of the society which is favoring the rich, the industrialist, the class halves particularly, and the people who are somehow or the other out of this box are further marginalized day by day. That's the crux of the problem as far as my understanding is concerned, sir.
আচ্ছা, আমি একটুখানি বাংলায় বলছি, আপনার বাংলাতে অসুবিধে নেই তো?
No, I can speak. I can speak. That's not an issue.
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা।
Bengal, Nandigram, Singur, all these came to prominence because of political mileage and background. In Odisha, the issues like Vedanta's movement at Niyamagiri or Kasipur movement or POSCO, anti-POSCO movement in Jagatsinghpur, etc., is not getting that such of political prominence because of lethargy, apatheticness, and aloofness of the ruling regime and the political class in my state, sir. There are some fundamental differences. They don't have any concern. They don't have any, ideology for the poor person as such. They have ideology in the sense, manipulation of votes, contesting elections as a political party, etc. But to raise the genuine issue, concern about the poor people, marginalized sections, subalterns, the intelligentsia and the political parties in Odisha has not geared up to that level to address them in a genuine manner. That's one of the important issues to be understood as far as I am concerned. As a matter of fact, the media, particularly local media and vernacular media, some of them are raising certain issues in the context of displacement, rehabilitation, compensation, etc. But the national media, particularly English newspaper, like Times of India, Indian Express, Statesman, number of them have publication from Bhubaneswar also. But I have my doubt that this English media could not cover them properly or highlighting them. But certain local newspaper, weekly newspaper, bi-monthly paper or journals, they are somehow or the other having certain progressive ideology, certain liberal orientation. They are producing some sort of articles, news, or some reports, etc. But otherwise, what I'm trying to argue in this context is that the violation of the rights, even if not the fundamental rights, the human rights of the common citizens and particularly marginalized sections is happening in Odisha last 30 years in a very sophisticated manner, where the loss of livelihood, the control over natural resources and conflict between the state and the people, who owns them, who will control them, that is getting murkier day by day. This is happening in my state, sir.
ওকে ওকে, হোয়াট ইউ হ্যাভ সেড, আপনি যা বললেন যে এই যে খনি, মাইন্স, ইন্ডাস্ট্রি, এগুলোর জন্যে বহু ট্রাইবাল মানুষকে এবং ফার্মারদের তাদের উৎখাত করা হয়েছে এবং তারা যথেষ্ট রিহ্যাবিলিটেশন পায়নি, যথাযোগ্য রিহ্যাবিলিটেশন পায়নি। তো তার জন্যে তারা আন্দোলনে নেমেছেন এবং দীর্ঘকাল ধরে এই আন্দোলনগুলো চলছে উড়িষ্যার বিভিন্ন প্রান্তে। হ্যাঁ, বিকজ ইন্ডাস্ট্রিয়ালাইজেশন হ্যাজ কজড দ্য ডিসপ্লেসমেন্ট। এখন এখানে একটা প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে যে গভর্নমেন্ট বা রাষ্ট্র বা স্টেট, গভর্নমেন্ট বা স্টেট, তাদের বক্তব্য হচ্ছে, আমরা যে যুক্তিটা পাই, দেয়ার ইজ অ্যান আর্গুমেন্ট যে ইফ দেয়ার ইজ নো ইন্ডাস্ট্রিয়ালাইজেশন, শিল্পায়ন যদি না হয় তাহলে ডেভেলপমেন্ট হবে কি করে এবং লোকে চাকরি পাবে কি করে? How the
Right.
people will get employment, how the people will get jobs if there is no factory, if there are no mines, if there is no industry? What will be your reply to this argument? আপনার এখানে উত্তরে কি বলার আছে?
হ্যাঁ, আমি বুঝতে পারি স্যার, ইউ আর অ্যাবসলিউটলি রাইট, আপনি সম্পূর্ণ ঠিক বলেছেন that without industrialization the development process of the country will be incomplete or the state concern. আপনি একদম ঠিক, সম্পূর্ণ ঠিক বলেছেন স্যার, কিন্তু ব্যাপারটা এই যে development at the cost of what? Development, is it the development where we talk about modernization, industrialization, or trade, commerce, etc., at the cost of the life and livelihood of the people? Is it called development? Where thousands of acres of land, fertile agriculture land is taken away by the state in the name of industrialization and given to the private party in a cheap rate? Is it the industrialization talking about where there is no employment opportunity to the local people, even if manual labor, and everything is based on technocrats or say who has high qualification, degree of BTech, MBA from IIT, IIM, or something skilled only? What about the tribal people who are otherwise uneducated, who are basically manual laborers or marginal farmers, who are giving their land at absolute no return in from the state or the industrial, they give only some money, and at the cost of the all these things they get nothing. Here nobody questions, কেউ প্রশ্ন করে না there should not be any development. No, প্রশ্ন এই ব্যাপারটা উপরে যে development at the cost of what? About the life, about the livelihood, about the natural resources, about the land, jal, jungle, zameen, where you take away forest. For example, I'm talking about Kasipur, Niyamagiri, in Korapur, in Kalahandi, where the people are living there for centuries, generations. There is going to be alumina plant. Mining, first thing, the mountain is destroyed, the forest being cut down, the river or the stream that gets stopped, flowing, then what will happen? Nobody questions about mining, but everybody questions about the people sacrifices their livelihood pattern where they were dependent on the forest resources for centuries, generations, years after years, where they will go at the end of the day. It's not about simply acquiring land. It's about acquiring natural resources also. It's about acquiring the means of livelihood also. It's about acquiring the existence of the people and displacing them forcibly. The question is, even if government or the industry gives them compensation, what is the amount? For example, as I've already pointed out, when Hirakud Dam was established in 1947 or 48, this question was raised to the then Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. When Nehru responded in a fashionable manner by saying, if these are the modern temples of civilization of this country or modernization of this country, and when you talk about modernization, modern temples, some people must have to sacrifice something, otherwise the country won't progress. I do agree with him, but the question is, when we say some people has to sacrifice, why not the people of state capital or national capital, or the people sitting in the parliament, or people sitting in planning commission or finance commission, or people like you and me? Why these some people are sacrificing? Why they are marginal farmers, landless laborer, tribal people, the so-called native people, or who are living on many, that living very closely with nature, be it fishermen in the Chilika area, or where Tata wanted to have established the prawn culture, or the tribal persons who are working as a forest dweller in Koraput, or a marginal farmer who is losing his land at, at POSCO, anti-POSCO movement in Jagatsinghpur. In other words, I am not questioning the existence of POSCO, Hirakot, or mining in Koraput or Kalahandi. But my concern is the persons or the people who are displaced. What about their existence? What about their livelihood? What about their life? Hence, here, if I calculate cost benefit analysis, not purely from economic point of view, social aspect, cultural aspect, the human values, their rights, their entitlement, everything is dismissed. Just experimenting development in my country or my state, and that is giving lot of pain to the free thinkers or the academics or the intellectual academicians or experimenting development in our country. If that is so, I have my own perception. Probably people have every right the question of the notion of development. It's not the development where people won't participate, people won't be convinced, people won't be taken into consideration and confidence, and people's right, basic right, fundamental right will be violated like anything without any adequate compensation. And when I say compensation, that doesn't mean it's monetary value. Loss of many things which has not been calculated. And the question is why it is since last 30 to 35 years it is increasing like anything in this country, and more particularly Odisha, Bengal, and other parts of the country also. The issue is not about industrialization per se. It's about the process of industrialization. It's about economic policy. It's about the relationship between the global political economy, flow finance capital with the local natural resources. How come the capitalists, after plundering over many part of the Afro-Asian countries, right now keeping their ears and eyes open to extract, exploit, and utilize the natural resources of my country or my state, and that is giving a lot of pain to the free thinkers or the relatively rational intellectual academicians, or like me, or a student, as a student of public policy, when I look into where is the participation of the public in the policy making process of this country. That is the concern, my pure concern as far as this particular point is concerned. When I say the people of this country, that also include the tribals, the Dalits, the poor farmers, the forest dwellers, the women fisher folk, and landless laborer working in those areas also. Did the state take any step to make them into a part of the mainstream discourse, dialogue, the development process? For example, Narmada Sardar Sarovar project in Narmada River, Narmada, when it has affected 4 states, though under the leadership of Medha Patekar, people protested, participated, demanded proper compensation. There was active participation, support from civil society organizations, media highlighted, hence government has given certain serious discussion, serious concern about those matters. But where there is no proper highlighting by the mainstream media, no proper highlighting by the political parties, no proper highlighting by the matter for all of us to ponder over. The reason being, there are also significant part constituency of politics. But why the political party are not giving the importance to them is a matter we must think over it. For example, in West Bengal, till the left parties were in power, at least they tried to implement land reform, land to the tiller, Operation Burger, landless people. So there is manipulation also. There are a lot of problems also. people like D. Bandyopadhyay took the lead. At least some sort of arrangement was made that the people who are the original cultivator, I mean, who really do the labor in the field, must get some share out of it. I mean, the jamindari system abolition. A lot of things are there. I mean, I can't discuss those things in this topic today, but however, there is something happened in West Bengal and Kerala. But land reform was complete failure in Odisha. Land to the tiller has not been really implemented. And when the state government gives, on the name of social welfare policy, 2 rupees a rice kilo, and in 10 rupees, 5 kilos of rice per person per family. If there are 5 persons, 25 kilos of rice, that led to further the people to be stagnant themselves rather than really do hard work. And as you know, money and muscle power makes a lot of difference in elections, even not in normal times. Because of all these factors, people again and again voting for the same political party, ruling regime coming to power, infrequently happening election. However, the genuine issues, like the issues I discussed today, who controls the natural resources? What about the livelihood pattern of the bottom 30% of the population of the country? Who are the worst sufferers or the victims of the so-called modernization process or industrialization, as Professor Basu rightly pointed out? I do not want industry in my state. That's absolutely wrong. I do also want industry. I wish my state's people should not go to work as laborer in Calcutta or in Surat or in Baroda or in Delhi as rickshaw puller or a plumber. I wish my state's people let them proper education, vocational training, do some chota mota business, small entrepreneur, even a small scale industry. They should earn for themselves. Employment opportunity, education, all these things are linked with each other. I don't deny that this is not happening. But my concern is, why in the name of industrialization, when you talk about displacement,
Thank you very much. Actually, it was not my argument. I mentioned that it is the argument which we come across. This argument, এই যুক্তিটা দেওয়া হয় সরকারের তরফ থেকে।
there be
আমি সেই
100 industry in
যুক্তিটাই
my
দিলাম।
state,
হ্যাঁ,
but let there be less and less to the extent possible, minimization of displacement. And whenever there is displacement, let the farmers, tribal people get proper compensation. Let there be industrialization, but not at the cost of the stopping of exploitation of natural resources. Let the community, which is PESA area, Panchayat extend to scheduled areas, let the tribal people, the forest owner, they should control the forest resources, NTAP, non-timber forest product, and many people are dependent on the forest, river, or lake, you can say, for their livelihood. That is getting destroyed. There is no compensation to them, all these people who are depending on all these activities for the day-to-day existence. The question is, it's the demand of the slogan is not for lack of industry. It's about let there be industry, but with proper compensation, proper displacement policy. R&R policy of the state government is not adequate at all, even if the central government, and that led to further alienation of the masses in my state. And who are the masses here? When I say masses, they're the poor tribal people, fishermen, peasants, landless agricultural worker, laborer, all these people. And that is giving a platform for them to be more radical in their approach against the state. And that is touching me, sir. That is the crux of the problem as far as my understanding is concerned.
আচ্ছা, থ্যাংক ইউ ফর দিস এক্সপ্লেনেশন। এখন একটা কথা হচ্ছে যে এই যে আন্দোলনগুলো চলছে, দিস ট্রাইবাল মুভমেন্টস, এরা কি ধরনের রিহ্যাবিলিটেশন ডিমান্ড করছে? হোয়াট কাইন্ড অফ রিহ্যাবিলিটেশন? কি ধরনের ক্ষতিপূরণ তারা চাইছেন? কি ধরনের পুনর্বাসন তারা চাইছেন? তারা কি পেলে খুশি হবেন? তারা কি মনে করছেন যে যেটুকু পেয়েছেন সেটা ইনঅ্যাডিকুয়েট, ইনসাফিসিয়েন্ট, যথেষ্ট নয়? তাহলে তারা কি ধরনের রিহ্যাবিলিটেশন চান?
স্যার আমি বলছি, স্যার, ফর এক্সাম্পল পোস্কো, anti পোস্কো মুভমেন্ট, ফর এক্সাম্পল, রাইট? পোস্কো in Jagatsinghpur, what they demanded, because these farmers are basically dependent on 3 things: pan, betel nut, dhan, rice, and mean. Pano, dhano, mino. Mino means fish. Pan means that pan what we are chewing, and dhan, rice. These are the things produced in that Jagatsinghpur, Dhinkia, POSCO area, where POSCO wanted to have its own plant. Subsequently, Jindal Steel plant, because POSCO plant is for the time being stalled because people protested against it. Here, the people did not say that POSCO should not establish plant. No, if the plant land is acquired in the name of industrialization, industrialization policy adopted by the government, both the central government, state government, and the industry also. That mechanical calculation, that mechanical calculation is not about industrialization policy. That mechanical calculation is about the livelihood generation activities, which is culturally they're dependent upon, because we are basically rice eaters, sir. Is Bengal, Odisha, Assam, all these things, right? So here, whatever compensation is given, only in monetary terms, not in the context. I mean, that is also if the land is the name of somebody, but there are people who are landless laborer. What about them? What about the issues when they uprooted from one place, migrate to another place, settle down? Social implication, whole social disharmony, cultural aspect. For example, people worship village deity, tribal people worship the local forest, and they say Raja, Rani, something like that, in the name of king or queen, something. And they, I mean, many things, the totems, the rituals, the day-to-day festivals, the religious activities. Here when I say religious, it's not about radical view I'm talking about. I'm talking about socio-cultural practices. Are you sure, or do you think any of the company is going to compensate because of loss of all these things? Never. Because here compensation is about the land, amount of land you're having, and amount of land company is taking from you. That mechanical calculation, that is being questioned. For example, there are vast tracts of land which is not arable, which is just barren land. The company can puts its own plant there, or to the extent minimize the acquisition of the land. That is not happening. A land is acquired in the name of industrialization. State government is acquiring, giving to the company at a very less rate, and the company is making undue advantage of the land they have acquired in the name of industrialization. They're utilizing for some other purpose also. But once the land is taken away, the farmer is nowhere to be seen. The issue is here not about industrialization per se. Issue is here about the compensation policy adopted by the government, both the central government, state government, and the industry also in particular. The issue is here that mechanical approach, economical aspect that calculating. What about sociological aspect, cultural aspect, psychological aspect, the amount of trauma people undergo when they displace from one place to another? For example, I'm sure my friends who are in this audience today, when country got partitioned and East Bengal versus West Bengal, Bangladesh was created. Many people came from Bangladesh and settled down in this country. But till the last moment, they're hopeful. They do not want to leave Bangladesh. Above all, they are part of India before partition. When they left everything in their homeland, be it Chattogram, be it somewhere in Bangladesh, somewhere in India, they left everything. 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 And they left everything. And in Bangladesh, Chattogram in Bangladesh, or whatever the places they have, Dhaka, they left and came here. See the amount of psychological, trauma they undergone. Those people. Similar here. So here, people from Koraput, Kalahan did not migrate to Delhi or Mumbai to other places, say Raipur, say Visakhapatnam. They're becoming daily wage laborer there. They're becoming rickshaw puller. Some are working in dhaba, some are working in brick clean, etc., etc. But see, the family migrated. When they migrate, not whole villages, they lost the contact with the near and dear ones. And gradually, they became something, a victim of their own development policy, a new person in their own homeland. I mean, homeland when it's a state or a country where nobody recognizes them. Their family system, values, life system. When it's a life system to social life, cultural aspect, harmony, I mean, everything is at the getting crossed at the cost of industrialization or development policy, whatever you can say. And if you look into Odisha's history, 80s onwards, for example, Baliapal movement, I'm sure Professor Basu might be a student at the time as a research scholar. The radical movement took place in Baliapal against the anti-missile range, that area Chandipur in Baleshwar. Or for example, many movements after that subsequently. Chilika, when Tata wanted to establish prawn culture there. Because, for example, Chilika is an area, it's a natural lake or lagoon, you can say, where fishermen, Udiya Dhivor, Odisha ka jo fishermen hai, they are for thousands of years, they're dependent upon that natural way of, fishing, etc. When that the Tata wanted to have mechanized way of boating and fishing, etc., they protested because that would have been really destroyed the ecological balance of Chilika Lake. Similarly, the Niyamagiri movement, for example, anti-POSCO movement, for example, what they talk about a symbolic relationship between ecology and economy. Not the economy cannot grow at the cost of ecology. But again, economy and ecology close related with each other at the platform of socio-cultural life and practices. Our history, our civilizational aspect, our cultural aspect, everything is getting questioned right now. Everything is right now destroyed. When I say displacement, sir, my intent is not to criticize anybody, but my real concern is displacement from whom? From where? It's not about only land. It's about infrastructure. It's about education. It's about infrastructure. It's about education. It's about people are happy to get the financial benefit only. I'm sure they would not have protested against the land acquisition. They would have volunteered to come forward to pay the, take the, give the land and take the money. But people are protesting against it. People are giving their life. Police fired number of occasions. People become dead, but they are continue to fight against the state oppression. When I say state oppression, I am not questioning the existence of the state. I respect state. I respect its law and order. But remember, when state come forward to cross genuine people's entitlement, a people's genuine entitlement, which is taking the form of a shape of a movement, that is being questioned. Above all, they are also people of this country. They have every right to raise their voice. They have every right to demand their legitimate entitlement. They have every right to protect their fundamental rights. They have every right to live as citizens of this independent country. They have every right to live with dignity, which is being questioned by Supreme Court also. So when I say right to life, that also includes right to life with dignity. It's not about animal existence only, an existence of a human being. Hence, when I say right to life of a tribal person, of a peasant, of a marginal farmer, of a landless laborer, of a fisherman, or a tribal lady walking on our mountains, that shows they are also entitled to have as a citizen of this country, their own rights to live with dignity, live with the way they wanted to, in a harmonious relationship between ecology, economy, existence of human being, and their social life. If that is being crushed, that's a matter of serious concern. Nobody questions industrialization per se. Nobody questions the authority of the state. Nobody can question the mighty existence of the state. It's about states' acceptance of the citizens' views, citizens' demands, citizens' rights, and taking into confidence the citizens in their progress towards development. The state cannot go for development or go for industrialization or go for any land acquisition without taking into confidence the people who are going to be affected by it. Because state exists for the citizens and citizen exists for the state. However, because the ongoing process of industrialization, the way land is being acquired, the way compensation is not being given, the way people's life and life is being destructed, there the people question the legitimacy of the state. There the people question the legitimacy of the state. There the people question the legitimacy of the state. Hence, country in general, in my state in particular. That's what my understanding is, sir.
And since you have mentioned, আপনি তো মেনশন করলেন যে ইকোলজিক্যাল ব্যালেন্সের সঙ্গে বা পরিবেশ দূষণ এনভায়রনমেন্টাল পলিউশনের সঙ্গে এই কোশ্চেনটা জড়িত আছে। তো আপনার কি মনে হয় এই ইন্ডাস্ট্রিয়ালাইজেশনের মাধ্যমে যে ডেভেলপমেন্ট আসছিল তাতে কি ধরনের পরিবেশ দূষণ দেখা যাচ্ছিল? হোয়াট কাইন্ড অফ এনভায়রনমেন্টাল পলিউশন অর ইকোলজিক্যাল ইমব্যালেন্স ওয়্যার নোটেড অর অ্যাপ্রিহেন্ডেড? মানে যে কী ধরনের পরিবেশের ক্ষতি হবে বলে মানুষ ভয় পাচ্ছিল, সেটা ঠিক কী ধরনের পরিবেশ দূষণ, কী ধরনের ক্ষতি ওখানে হতে পারতো বা হচ্ছে?
আমি বলছি স্যার, আমি বলছি। See, in the name of industrialization or mining process, for example, the way minerals are being extracted in such uncontrolled manner without looking into the demand of future generation and without considering the legal requirements. তাই জন্যে আপনি দেখছেন very recently mining scam is happening like anything in my state, in many parts of the country also. That coal distribution, I mean this mining, that mining, because many of these things are happening illegally, without legal sanction, without state permission. Suppose a particular company was given mining lease for 5 years, but is keep on continuing to extract for 10 years. Suppose he was given for 5 hectares or 5 hectares, they are doing for 10 hectares. So what is happening? That will naturally lead to ecological imbalance or disbalance. In other words, its consequences are visible not only on the people in that locality in and around there, but also the future generation, but also other people also, but also the people who are living outside that region. I'm giving concrete examples. Say, when mining took place in certain parts of Odisha, as I've said with you, that led to destruction of the mountain. What happened after that? The trees, flora, fauna, what has existed in that locality on that area, that's gone right now. Because of lack of that flora and fauna, that created imbalance, and in such a manner, the people in that locality or area the rivers, the streams which are flowing and coming from that forest area right now get stopped flowing. So, for example, for a poor fisherman or a poor person living in forest area, everybody knows how that river stream or that forest or that pond, etc., is totally they are dependent upon that. Symbolically, I mean, the person is dependent on the river or the forest, etc., and the forest also dependent on this person because they protect the forest, they protect the river, they protect the lake. When these sort of things happen, uncontrollable exploration, on illegal mining, time is period something, they are doing something, there is no accountability what is happening. There is no, I mean, forget about pollution for the timing. There is industrial pollution, there is environmental pollution, that is there. I'm not being not a technocrat in that sense, I cannot say. But however, the loss of forest led to less rainfall, loss of mountain, etc., and less forest, the flowing of river, streams, ponds, that has been stopped. That is led to scarcity of water, scarcity of forest resources, scarcity of NTFP, non-timber forest product. All these are having lot of impact on the local economy. When I say local economy, it's not about production and distribution, it's about consumption of the people at local level over the local resources for their daily livelihood. So that is affecting their existence also. What I'm trying to argue in this context, it's not about simply pollution of the environment. It's about loss of many things, sir. Loss of livelihood, loss of ecology, loss of water resources. For example, can you imagine when a tribal person's with daily existence dependent upon the forest and river, when that is stopped, where that person will go? He cannot get a job like you and me in certain industry or educated person, something like that. Here I'm not arguing for the fact that the tribals would live in jungle and being a museum of the spaces of the museum. But my concern is when we are destroying his existence, we're destroying his livelihood, we're destroying his social, cultural aspect, his family life, his social life, where those people will go. Here, the issue is if that is done by the state, suppose, for example, if that is being done by a private party, etc., one can understand. If that is being done by the state or by a private party in connivance with the state or state sponsored way, about those rights? What about those values? What about the belongingness of the people to the state? That is leading towards, indirectly leading towards a situation, growing alienation between the state and the people. It's not simply about ecology. It's about destruction of the mental attachment, emotional attachment with the state also. It's about their, the way they obey the constitution or the state institutions. Right now they are being questioned. They're questioning it. Why this is happening? Why did the tribal people? Why did the poor peasants? Why did the fishermen? Why did the landless laborer or marginal agricultural farmer? This is a serious matter for all of us to ponder over.
থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। নাও আই এম কামিং টু মাই লাস্ট কোয়েশ্চেন। আমার শেষ প্রশ্ন সেটা হচ্ছে যে হোয়াট আর দ্য চ্যালেঞ্জেস টু রুরাল গভর্নেন্স ইন ইন্ডিয়া? ভারতের যে গ্রামীণ গভর্নেন্স, সেই গ্রামীণ গভর্নেন্সের কাছে এগুলো কি ধরনের চ্যালেঞ্জ এনে উপস্থিত করেছে বলে মনে হচ্ছে? Rural governance is facing these problems and they are not in a position to tackle these problems successfully. এরা সাফল্যের সঙ্গে গভর্নেন্সটাকে চালিয়ে যেতে পারছেন না গ্রামাঞ্চলে। এই গ্রামীণ গভর্নেন্সের দিক থেকে কি ধরনের ব্যর্থতা দেখা গেছে এবং তারা কেন এই চ্যালেঞ্জগুলোকে সাফল্যের সঙ্গে মোকাবিলা করতে পারছেন না?
Sir, ekhoni, in reality, rural India is facing acute crisis. When I say rural India, acute crisis in the governance pattern. Be it institution, anushthan. When I say anushthan, এটা হতে পারে panchayat, এটা হতে পারে local cooperative, এটা হতে পারে local school, hospital, or the service, social service, service delivering institution at local level. And it is also about employment opportunity. It's about local production of resources. It's about migration, more particularly seasonal migration. It's about disguise last 30 to 40 years, roughly last 30 years more particularly, because of the economic principles and the way our employment generation activities taking place nowadays, except Manrega, that is also being politically manipulated by the local panchayat to the extent that there is no concept called justice as far as giving jobs to the people. It is only the political party in power or sarpanch, etc. they give to the job card holders whom they support or belong to their own political party. Land is scarce resource. Its distribution is uneven, hence income also. At local level, as all of us knows, lack of even village industries, small scale industries where people can get employment opportunities. Hence, migration More particular, seasonal migration is more acute in all the parts of the country, and particularly Bengal, Odisha, etc. And at the institution, when I talk about local school, local hospital, though technically number has increased, but quality wise, the services given by the local school, local hospital, or Anganwadi Kendra is questionable. That led to thriving business of private schools, private hospitals, etc., etc. Because people in general could not get service at local these institutions. However, the people who cannot afford them, where they'll go, they're sending their children to village school, village primary school. People are going to village hospital, etc., etc. The point I'm trying to is there is a crisis in the institutions of governance in rural India in all the sectors starting from panchayat. For example, panchayat. Though technically, both Balavanta Rai Mehta Committee and Osok Mehta Committee emphasize panchayat should be party-less democracy. There should be no political interference. But here, today, what is happening? Ki hocche? Gramme, TMC versus CPM, or in Odisha, BJD versus BJP. But technically, the panchayat system has divided the village community into various fragments. I mean, one brother is killing another brother. One sister is taking revenge on another sister. One family, two political parties. But otherwise, village life, a rural society is a homogeneous community in the sense, though there is division in terms of religion, caste, etc., but more or less dependent on each other, amicably solving problems, helping each other. That was the society we are talking about as far as village rural India is concerned. And what is happening today? The contrast. I mean, whatever the policies, programs, government of India and bureaucracy is trying to implement in rural India, but technically the policies and programs are implemented in the form of division, fragmentation, distress migration, 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 across religion, language, political party basis. That's not happening, which has consequences visible in the form of division, in the form of litigation, in the form of attacking each other, in the form of political interference from outside, in the form of division between the communities or the village, and it is not only political division, it also affecting their social life. There is social disharmony, there is cultural disintegration, there is economic division, and the poor, the marginalized, the subalterns who are really at the bottom of the all these things are further getting marginalized. And this is a serious problem. All of us to understand this point. The way I was talking about displacement is leading towards a situation the subalterns are getting more marginalized. Similarly, the rural crisis governance, the crisis in governance in rural India is so acute today, which is reflected if we go to any village in eastern side of the country like Bengal, Odisha, talk to a poor person, a peasant, a laborer, and when you talk to them openly, gradually they will open up themselves also. And the crisis is not in terms of not understanding their problem. The crisis is not addressing their problem in a way which is really crying need of the hour. The Manrega cannot solve the problem of distress migration. Even if land reform is implemented, half attempt led to a situation that the marginal laborers or the small agricultural farmers are continuing to live with lot of suffering till date. In spite of number of schools and hospitals is increased, the quality of education, the quality of health service is very disturbing in nature. Though there is a lot of loan scheme, mudra scheme, local banks, etc., but addressing poverty, addressing unemployment, addressing rural migration, distress migration in particular, addressing the genuine concern of the poor masses is becoming, it has not happened, and the problem is aggravating day by day. And my humble concern is that let us not calculate everything in economic terms. Let us not calculate everything on statistical assessment. Let us try to understand qualitatively what are the challenges, what are the to constitute India into a socialist, secular, democratic republic. Yet the republic we have dreamed about, where till now roughly 20% people are poverty line, even if it's 75 years of after independence. More than 25%, technically around 25% or 20% plus people are illiterate right now also. Yet the country we dreamed of before independence. This is a crucial question for all of us to ponder over, to think over, to analyze. And here I must argue or confess in this point that the larger political economy of the state is more responsible for the critical phase of our governance system, which is undergoing a crisis, phase of crisis after crisis in this country. It's not about only liberalization or globalization policy per se, or only industrialization policy per se. It's about combination of many factors, partly political, partly economic, partly socio-cultural, partly our education policy, partly our employment policy, partly our panchayat raj system, the way it is being functioning, and more particularly, lack of genuine concerns for the poor people by the lawmakers of this country and law implementers like bureaucrats, like member of parliament or MLA. I'm talking about the ruling class in particular. If they can have certain sympathy towards the poor people, towards the marginalized sections of the society, I believe number of problems in our society can be solved. Particularly when I talk about the rural people, when I talk about the tribal people, when I talk about the marginalized people in particular, they have to show certain empathy, pityness towards the people, and genuine concern to address the problem in a holistic manner. Then only probably country can, at least do something for these needy sections of the society.
Thank you very much, Professor Pradip Parida, for your painstaking analysis, for your command over the topic, and for your brilliant discussion, passionate discussion, I must say. Thank you very much. Now, অনেক ধন্যবাদ আপনাকে আজকের আলোচনার জন্যে। যদিও মাঝে মাঝেই টেকনিক্যাল কারণে আপনার কথা শোনা যাচ্ছিল না, কিন্তু যেটুকু শোনা গেছে সেটা অনেকখানি আমাদের অনেক কিছু শেখালো। আমি প্রকাশকে অনুরোধ করব যে এবারে আমাদের লেট আস কাম টু অ্যান এন্ড অফ দিস প্রোগ্রাম। তো এ ব্যাপারে যা যা করণীয় সেগুলো করার জন্য প্রকাশকে আমি আহ্বান জানাচ্ছি। প্রকাশ, কিছু কোয়েশ্চেন এসছে প্রফেসর পারিদা। দেয়ার আর some questions. First question is সমাজতত্ত্ব চর্চা কেন্দ্র। Can you hear me, Professor Parida? Can you hear me? There is a question from সমাজতত্ত্ব চর্চা কেন্দ্র. What is the main tribal movement in Odisha?
The tribal movement in Odisha started during pre-independence period. I'm not going to the historicity of that movement, sir. You must have heard about Surendra Sai. You must have heard about the movement against the Britishers during collection of taxes by the tribals of Kendujhar. Many things are there. But in recent time, the movement against Vedanta at Kalahandi, Niyamagiri, a classic example of a tribal movement where people protested against the state and the private industry. Because in Pesa area, it is mentioned according to the Pesa Act, Gram Sabha must pass that resolution, where the Gram Sabha elected, all the elder villages decided not to allow the mining and the plant in their locality. Just if you want to know about it, that Niyamagiri movement against the Vedanta is a classic example of tribal movement in our state. Same time, before couple of years, Kasipur in Raigada district of Odisha, There are strong protests against that. In other words, if you look into the recent social movements in Odisha, basically majority of them are either tribal movement or peasants movement. For example, the movement in anti-POSCO is primarily a peasants movement. The movement against Tata Group in Chilika was a peasants movement. In other words, poor fishermen, peasants club it together. Similarly, Paliapal in 80s, where the ballistic missile range was being established. People protested. Peasants movement, primarily peasants. When I say Pan, Dhan, and Mino, that is peas, rice, and betel, all these by the peasants. However, in the coastal belt, peasants movement are there. In the western side and southern part, tribal movement is there. And the historicity of tribal movement etc. have taken place. If I won't consider them tribal movement where people protesting against us, what else can be terminology can be used for them? These are the tribal people. Gone are the days when they are at the receiving end always and remain silent spectator. Today, many of them are educated. They're very much aware. They're very much conscious. They're very much concerned about their own life and their future generations' life also. Hence, demanding that, I mean, at least their voice should be, they can raise their voice, and their voice should be heard by the state or by the mining agency, by the industrialist, by the corporate house, and even the policymakers also, planners also. Look, they want to pass the message that, look, don't underestimate us. Today, it is a protest. Tomorrow, it might be loud protest. Day after tomorrow, it might be armed revolution. Please pay some attention to it. Here, the concern is, main issue is, if the state will continue to marginalize, continue to neglect them, time will come, they won't hesitate to go in open, arena in the form of armed revolt. I mean, that's my hunch. Armed revolution against the state. At least to prevent that, if the state really want to, really concerned about the tribal people's issue, their displacement, their livelihood, their education, their employment issues, etc., the state should consider, states should look into the problems, the demand, that solution, and what are the alternative means to address those issues. Probably then can only we say that tribal people have some support for the state. Otherwise, which is the movement which is very nascent stage in some parts and some parts little bit vocal or violent way, time will come, all the tribal areas might go against the state also. If that will continue forever. So you have to put a full stop somewhere. We have to re-engage them with the state in terms of a dialogic process, how to bring them to the mainstream. When I say mainstream, the so-called development policy of the state. Be it agriculture-oriented, be it industrial-oriented, be it other economic activities, the tribal people should be respected in their own manner, with their own system of livelihood, along with the so-called development policy. If there is a proper combination, proper acceptance, probably that will lead to a situation they won't say that on. Sir.
থ্যাংক ইউ
Thank you,
পারিদা,
sir.
থ্যাংক ইউ। হ্যাঁ, প্রকাশ বলো।
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার, আমাদের সাথে এতক্ষণ ধরে আলোচনা করার জন্য স্যারকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ। প্রফেসর প্রদীপ বাসু স্যারকেও অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ এবং প্রফেসর পরিদাকেও অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ আমাদের সাথে এতক্ষণ ধরে আলোচনাটি করার জন্য। এবং আজকে যারা আমাদের সাথে উপস্থিত ছিলেন আলোচনাতে তাদেরকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ। তো আমাদের এইরকম সিরিজটি আবার শুরু হবে নেক্সট দিনে। সবাইকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ জানিয়ে আজকে আমরা আলোচনাটি এখানেই শেষ করছি। সকলকে ধন্যবাদ। শুভরাত্রি। গুড নাইট স্যার।
থ্যাংক ইউ।
থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ। আমার প্রণাম। থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ স্যার। আমার নমস্কার স্যার।
থ্যাংক ইউ। নমস্কার।
থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ। নমস্কার স্যার।